She's not going to beat this. You need to take her off the ventilator, and she's not going to make it because she has HIV, she has AIDS.
Mr. Broadie, you are charged at this time with the sole count of reckless conduct, HIV-infected person. It is a felony charge.
So we're going to be looking at this case, very sad case. Thank you for watching Why I Killed You TV. Make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, and share this particular video and this particular YouTube channel. We're going to be talking about Denise Broadie. She was only 65 years old. She was a mother of 3 from Conyers, Georgia. Tragically, she passed away on April the 2nd, 2022 from AIDS-related complications. Initially, she was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2017, which reoccurred in 2019. Despite undergoing extensive treatment, it was not until she was transferred to another hospital that she discovered that she had full-blown AIDS, a diagnosis that came just days before her death. I believe her daughter said only one day she lived with that particular diagnosis. Investigations reveal that her husband, Cleveland Broadie, whom she married in 2014, had been aware of his HIV diagnosis since 2006. So they married in 2014, and he knew, this is what the family is saying, they believe he knew since 2006, but failed to disclose this information to Denise. Authorities allege that he knowingly engaged in unprotected sex with her and other women without informing them or without using condoms. As a result, Cleveland Broadie was arrested on July the 8th, 2023, and initially charged with felony reckless conduct for not disclosing his HIV status. Subsequently, additional charges were filed as more victims came forward. In April of 2025, a Rockdale County grand jury indicted him for charges of malice murder and felony murder in connection with Denise's death. So at the end, the family was victorious, but still, Denise is not here. Sad to say, she is not here. The family was adamant in saying that Denise did not know that he was HIV positive. They did not know. So let's run this clip.
They hate you. You're gonna die. I don't want to do this.
Man is behind bars tonight, charged with killing his wife, not allegedly with a gun or a knife, but by giving her AIDS.
Fox 5's Kevin Stewart joins us live from the Rockdale County Jail in Conyers with the story. Kevin?
Sad, man.
The victim here was diagnosed with cancer, but soon doctors realized she had more than cancer. She had AIDS, and that's why her husband is here at the Rockdale County Jail. This is Denise and Cleveland Broadie, married in 2014 after meeting at a Christmas party 2 years prior. These were better times.
And she loved this man. She really, really loved him.
But Cleveland Broadie is now accused of violating his wife's trust, the family's faith. Rockdale County deputies have charged him with murdering Denise Broadie, knowingly infecting her with HIV, his status completely unknown to her. She died in 2022 at 65.
And how long did she live after the diagnosis?
2 days.
She put him out when she found out he was cheating on her. And she loved him so much that she actually allowed him to come back, asked him to take a test because he's out there. And he was smart enough to know that it would not get picked up.
Prosecutors first charged the husband in 2023 with only reckless conduct HIV, but the family pushed for murder and did the detective work to share with authorities.
Get evidence of the fact that he had it before he met my mother.
2 years later, now her stepfather is charged with felony murder.
Because at any time he could have told her, I have this, and she gave her the right to make the decision on whether or not she wanted to stay with him.
So we're looking at a video of 2 daughters whose mother, Denise Broadie, was diagnosed with breast cancer. The breast cancer went into remission. And she started having lung problems. She started becoming very short of breath. They couldn't figure out what was going on. The oncologist is pretty much saying that, it's because of the disease process itself, even though she was in remission. And so she actually acquired HIV from her significant other. And it's just a sad situation. Let's continue on with the video.
In December of 2021, they want to do more scans, CT scan, MRI, bone scans to see if the cancer had cleared up or is still spreading other places, to see where we were with the cancer after so many chemo treatments. Well, they did the scans in December. We went back for the results and they tell us, well, the cancer's pretty much cleared up around her lungs.
Great news, right?
Right. We're excited. I'm sitting, I'm recording, because we recorded every doctor's visit.
That's good. That's
so
smart.
that, we could communicate with each other, because I couldn't remember everything, Tammy couldn't remember. So we shared the communication. So pretty much cleared up. And I'm saying in the video, well, why is she like this? If the cancer is pretty much cleared up, why can't she remember where she is? Why can't she walk? Why am I pushing her in this wheelchair? My mama can't walk. It doesn't look like it's cleared up. Something else. What could something else be going on? It was the same answer. It's the disease. And which wasn't, I couldn't understand that, because you said the disease is pretty much cleared up.
Yeah.
And so fast forward to the beginning of January, they kept her on the path of continuing the chemo treatments, because now it's metastatic in their eyes. And so with metastatic, you have to take some form of chemo the rest of your life.
Right.
You have to treat it.
Right.
And so again, she can't handle it. Her white blood counts are dropping, shots, fever. We're at the emergency room saying, what's wrong with her. And so we eventually ended up taking her from her home because her husband wasn't taking care of her. We work, family life. And so she had a husband at home, and we trusted that he would give her the care she needed. But when we would go visit,
it wasn't.
She didn't look cared for. And so we decided to take her out the home and move her in with me. I was working from home. I could, be with her around the clock. And so she came to live with me January 8th. I remember that weekend. Because my son, Corey, was going off to the military.
She was with me for about 10 days until Corey left to go to the Navy. And Miles was going to school.
So I had an extra bedroom.
She had an extra bedroom. And she worked remote. So it was more ideal for Mom to be at Kay's house.
And so she was there January, and then February, like the first weekend, Super Bowl weekend.
Super Bowl weekend.
In February.
That's how I always remember it. Was the Saturday before the Super Bowl.
She woke up. I wake up in the middle of the night to check on her because she was weak. She was actually using the bathroom on herself. At this point, she could not hold her bowels. Didn't look like cancer to me. She,
it didn't feel like
cancer. She could barely eat, could barely walk. She, was lethargic most of the time. She stared off into space. And so I would check on her in the middle of the night because I know she don't use the bathroom, so I got to change her. And so I went in like 5 o'clock in the morning, and she was staring into space, couldn't talk, no motion. It looked to me like she was having a stroke. So I ended up calling 911. They came. They thought she was having a stroke as well, and they picked her up to, take her, because we were upstairs. They had to take her downstairs. And this is, I laugh and smile at this because Mama was lethargic. She didn't know where she was, and she wouldn't talk to me or the emergency people. And as they were walking her out down the hallway, Gadget, my husband, said to me, "Kush call," which is my baby sister. And she just out of nowhere said, "What Kush say?"
Are you serious?
I swear. And I was like, "Mom," as they were taking her down the stairs.
It's third opinions. You did everything you were supposed to do, and it just still seems like the medical team, or they just dropped the ball. To me, if you're going to do if I'm asking you for extensive testing, test me for everything.
But isn't this indicative of what Black women are experiencing with the healthcare system?
What and it's just crazy.
Like,
but we're going to take
how is this even our life?
Life these days.
She's supposed to be here right now.
Looks a lot like reminiscing for sisters Tammy Hammonds and Karen Young.
I like that one too.
In 2017, doctors first diagnosed their mom, Denise Broadie, with breast cancer. She went into remission, but 2 years later, the cancer came back, this time attacking her lungs.
The decline was so rapid.
Are you comfortable?
Wow.
After years of on and off hospital extended stays and chemotherapy, the cancer had cleared. But Denise somehow was still sick. The family had new doctors run new tests again for everything. Karen recalls doctors determining her 65-year-old mom was dying, but not from a malignant mass.
Then they end up calling us, telling us that she's not going to beat this. You need to take her off the ventilator, and she's not going to make it because she has HIV, she has AIDS.
Wow.
Denise died April 2nd, 2022, and based off her blood work,
she was in full-blown AIDS after having untreated, undiagnosed HIV for at least 5 years.
the person who gave it to her was not unknown. Criminal records allege it was her husband, Cleveland Broadie.
Mr. Broadie, you are charged at this time with assault count of reckless conduct, HIV-infected person. It is a felony charge. Would you like the court to read your warrant aloud?
No, ma'am.
The warrants read, this was no accident, instead intentional. Detectives claim medical files reveal Broadie knew of his status since 2006.
Really?
The charging documents cite Broadie did endanger by consciously disregarding a substantial and unjustifiable risk that his act or omission of not telling his wife his status resulted in her death.
And Kay, you mentioned that she got tested for everything, but they didn't test her for HIV. So get us to that point where we find out that that is actually what it is. She was HIV positive, correct?
Well, so she was started out at Rockdale, where we asked them to test for everything. We didn't like the results we were getting from the staff there, so we fought to get her moved to Emory University, and it was a fight.
Yeah, because initially we thought it was neurological, and they didn't have a neuro team there.
Okay.
So,
absolutely, because she couldn't remember who we was. I have footage of her not knowing my name. They did diagnose her with CMV.
What is that?
It's a virus that lays dormant in you, and it's caused by the chickenpox virus.
Yeah.
And
shingles, all of that.
Yeah. Shingles is associated with it as well.
Okay.
So they did get some fluid from her spine at Rockdale and tested the fluid and found that she had CMV virus, which they said had traveled to her brain and caused the encephalopathy that she was experiencing. And so they started her on a dose of it was almost like a
antiviral, but almost like a chemo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which had the same results as any other chemo treatment. White blood counts drop.
Yeah.
Now you have to give her these shots to build a white blood count or stop the treatment. And so that was the cycle we were going through with Rockdale. They were still trying to do the treat CMV with the chemo, and she was getting worse.
Okay.
Yeah. She ended.
It's really so sad that these daughters have to go through this with their mother. They probably thought she was going to die of cancer, and come to find out, she didn't. She didn't. That's what makes this really, really sad and disgusting. That's horrible what happened to her.
Yeah. So, we fought to get her moved because we were like, something else is going on in her brain. This can't just be CMV, encephalopathy. So they did eventually move her to Emory University. In the beginning, they started her on the same path as Rockdale. It was a transfer. They wanted to test her brain. They went through the neuro doctors and things.
And they did their own testing there.
Yes, absolutely. In the beginning, they just treated her based off of what they got from Rockdale. So they were giving her, she was seeing an infectious disease doctor at Rockdale. And then so when she went to Emory, she started to see an infectious disease doctor because CMV is an infectious disease like HIV.
It's viral.
Okay.
Yes. So they assigned her an infectious disease doctor. Well, this doctor at Emory, I spoke with him and he told me that he didn't think this was CMV. He thought maybe it was something different. But they were going to continue on that path until they got all of her medical records from Rockdale, Piedmont. And so that's what they did. They continued on that path. Well, she ended up catching COVID and
ended up on the ventilator.
Wow.
Yeah, they ended up putting her on a ventilator at Emory because she had pneumonia. She so she really couldn't communicate with us at that point. And again, the infectious disease doctors at Emory didn't believe that it was CMV, that something else was causing what she was going through. And so they made the decision to test her for HIV.
Wow.
Because that was, he said, you know, what else could it be in his mind? This is something different. Has anybody tested her for HIV? And he did. On March 28th,
wow,
he tested her for HIV. Well, by this time, we had gotten a call that she had been on the ventilator for 15 days, and they couldn't keep her on that ventilator any longer.
Palliative care was calling us in.
And we had to make a decision on whether or not to take her off life support or to trach her. And
there's no coming back from trach.
Yeah, that was what Tammy said.
Yeah, we knew Mom didn't want that either, you know. And
she told us that.
Yeah, she told us that she didn't want to be, you know, a vegetable. And we had end of life type conversations before, you know, when you're dealing with cancer and everything. You have to have those tough conversations and stuff. So we knew that traching her wasn't going to be an option. So after that, it was just a matter of coming to terms with her, you know, what's going to happen when we take her off of the life support. Will she be able to breathe on her own? And so what they said to us was that they were just going to make her comfortable.
Okay.
You know, basically.
Yeah, because we were actually looking forward to taking her off the ventilator and having a conversation. Yeah, we felt that once we took off the ventilator, she could talk to us.
Right.
And, you know, give us her wishes.
Was she conscious?
Yes.
While she was so she was conscious.
Yeah, she was conscious. She was conscious on the ventilator. So like Karen said, we had even though she was still dealing with the encephalophagy, once they did diagnose that it was HIV, we found out later that they had started to administer the treatment for HIV.
Okay.
So you could tell a difference. And we still had to.
That is amazing.
I'm telling you. Yeah. So he was correct. The doctor at Rockdale was correct in fact in what he said. That when they start to treat whatever the virus was, that you would see them come back to themselves, because in 2 days, like the actual day we got there on Karen's birthday to take her off the ventilator, was the most alert we had seen her in 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. When we walked into the hospital room to take her off of that ventilator, she was up, she was looking, she looked like she was excited to see us,
happy to see us.
She wanted to talk to us, and we wanted to talk to her. But by this point, when they told us that we got the call that, you know, she wasn't gonna make it because she had full-blown AIDS, you know, it was no longer HIV, that she was in full-blown AIDS and she wasn't gonna survive it. But we still kept hope alive, because God is the ultimate decision maker. So we still felt that we take off this ventilator, she's gonna talk to us. She's gonna keep breathing on her own, and she'll be fine. And she was alert.
She was very alert. I mean, when we told them that we wanted to talk to her, her nurse, I'll never forget Josiah. He said, I think maybe you should talk to the nurse practitioner. And they explained to us that you do know that when we take her off of this ventilator, that it's going to be like suffocation.
Really?
Yeah.
Because she
couldn't breathe on her own.
Amazing.
Wow.
But all we kept focusing on was how alert she was and how, you know. But Trish, when they took her off of that ventilator, the way she struggled to breathe, and it was torture. It was absolute torture. I was like, just help her, you know, make her comfortable. And, you know, and I asked Josiah, how long could she last like this? He said, maybe an hour.
Got us all on conference call. And this doctor comes on and say, you know, your mother's not going to make it because she has AIDS. She's in full-blown AIDS. And we The anger came then. What do you mean she has AIDS? How did she get AIDS? Tammy said, how long has she had this? And he said, untreated, undiagnosed, looks like maybe about 5 years.
Jesus Christ.
And that's when the anger came. And we knew immediately it's her husband. She has been married to this man for, at that time, 8 years. Never been with anybody else. She was faithful. Mama married her boyfriend, honey. This was her third marriage. She didn't date. She married you. Okay. And so we're like, oh, it's him, definitely. So it threw us in. We were angry. We were mad. We called. We texted him. He wouldn't answer our calls. We texted him and said, you know, we know that you gave our mama AIDS and you killed her. You took her from her. We said all kind of choice words to him. And his reply to us was, I do not have HIV.
Once a suspect is charged, the court has 90 days to bring an official indictment. If they don't, that defendant is eligible for bond, but the judge doesn't have to make the bond affordable. That's what happened here in Cleveland Broadie's case. Bond set for $1.5 million today, or $500,000 for each charge.
She did die as a result of contracting HIV from this.
Right now, Broadie faces 3 counts of reckless conduct after investigators allege he knew he was HIV positive, but he had unprotected sex with at least 3 women. One was his own wife, Denise Broadie. Denise died April 2022 after doctors say she had undiagnosed and untreated HIV for 5 years.
That his status was made clear to.
While the defense argued the suspect has been wrongfully accused, that all his partners knew his status, the Rockdale County District Attorney's Office maintained he intentionally withheld his 2006 diagnosis from the women. The Rockdale County Sheriff's Office even saying there may be other victims.
For the court to allow him to go back into the county thinking that he would do the right thing would be a total injustice to people in the town of Rockdale.
This all comes after Cleveland Broadie was previously denied bond twice this summer. The required bond ruling today disappoints Denise's family.
It just feels like at every turn, you know, the justice system is just feels like it's on his side. You know what I'm saying? Like, we get the cemetery and he gets bond and everything else. There's no way my mother would have known this man's status and not protected herself and not gotten treatment if she knew that she was infected by that, and those other victims as well.
They hate you. You're gonna die. I don't want to do this.